In this session, we will study about the hamstring muscles and the popliteal fossa. Here is a dissected specimen of the right lower limb. Gluteal region has already been dissected and we can see here the gluteus maximus muscle. We have cut down the gluteus maximus in the mid and now I am reflecting the flap of gluteus maximus laterally. All the structures under the cover of gluteus maximus can now be visualized. Here this is the gluteus medius muscle, piriformis muscle. Sciatic nerve can be seen at the inferior border of piriformis. Two gemelli, superior and inferior gemelli with tendon of obturator internus. And here we can see this quadratus femoris muscle. The two main bony points which can be visualized are medial one is this ischial tuberosity and laterally we can see the greater trochanter. About the hamstring muscles. The hamstring muscles, they form the flexor or the posterior compartment of thigh. Four muscles are included in the hamstring group: semitendinosus muscle, semimembranosus muscle, long head of biceps femoris and ischial head of adductor magnus are included in the hamstring group. Some of the features commonly shared by all hamstring muscle are that all the hamstring muscles, they take origin from the ischial tuberosity and all hamstrings, they are supplied by tibial part of sciatic nerve. If we mark the origin of hamstring muscles on the ischial tuberosity, here we have the right hip bone and we can see the ischial tuberosity here. The ischial tuberosity, it is divided into two parts, a superior and inferior part by an transverse line, and each part is further divided into a lateral and a medial part by the oblique lines. So in the superior part we have a superomedial impression and a superolateral impression. From the superolateral impression, semimembranosus muscle take origin, and while from the superomedial impression, long head of biceps and semitendinosus muscle, they take origin. While from the inferolateral impression, ischial head of adductor magnus arises and inferomedial impression is covered over by a bursa. So this is about the origin of the hamstring muscle on the ischial tuberosity. Now we can identify all these muscles in a dissected specimen. So here is the ischial tuberosity for the origin of hamstring muscle. The first muscle which I have lifted, this is the semitendinosus muscle with a long and thin belly and a long thin tendon. Insertion of semitendinosus muscle, it is onto the upper part of medial surface of tibia, and here the two other muscles which are also inserted are the gracchalis and the sartorius muscle. So here we can see these three tendons. First one is this semitendinosus, second is gracchalis, and third is the sartorius muscle. So these three muscles, they form the gyropes and are inserted onto the upper part of medial side of the tibia. The next muscle of this group, just beneath the semitendinosus, is the semimembranosus muscle, and we can see a groove over the surface of semimembranosus for the semitendinosus muscle. Origin is from the ischial tuberosity, and insertion of semimembranosus muscle, it is onto an impression on the posterior surface of medial condyle of tibia. And also the expansion from semimembranosus, it will form the oblique popliteal ligament of the knee joint. The third muscle in this group, it is the long head of biceps muscle. Origin is from ischial tuberosity. The short head of biceps, it will take origin from the lateral lip of linea aspera of the femur. Now the long head is included in the hamstring group. Both the heads, they join by a common tendon and are inserted onto the head of the fibula, and here they are bisected by the tendon of fibular collateral ligament. So this is the long head of biceps, the third muscle of the hamstring group. The fourth muscle of the hamstring group, it is the ischial head of adductor magnus. Here we can see this whole of the adductor magnus muscle and fibers from the ischial head, they will pass vertically downward. So here in the last part, all these fibers are from the ischiopubic rami, and the last fibers, they are from the ischial head of the adductor magnus. These fibers, they will pass vertically downward and are inserted onto the adductor tubercle of the femur. And also these fibers, they will join by a fibrous expansion on the medial supracondylar ridge of the femur. These are the four muscle of hamstring group: semitendinosus, semimembranosus, long head of biceps, and ischial head of adductor magnus. All these muscles, they are supplied by tibial part of sciatic nerve. The adductor magnus, it is having a dual nerve supply. Most of the fibers of adductor magnus, they will be supplied by posterior division of obturator nerve. Only the ischial fibers, they will be supplied by the tibial part of sciatic nerve. Action of all the hamstring muscles, they are chief flexors at the knee joint, and they can also do the extension at the hip joint. In a semi-flexed position, the medial muscles, the semitendinosus and semimembranosus, they are medial rotators at the knee joint, while the biceps femoris, it acts as a lateral rotator of the knee joint in semi-flexed position. Now we will discuss the popliteal fossa. The popliteal fossa, it is a diamond-shaped depression on the back of the knee. The popliteal fossa is an intermuscular depression bounded superiorly by these hamstring muscles and inferiorly by the calf muscles. So superomedial boundary of the popliteal fossa, it is by the semitendinosus and semimembranosus muscle, and this boundary, it is completed by the tendons of gracilis and adductor magnus muscle. The superolateral boundary, it is by the tendon of biceps femoris muscle. The inferomedial and inferolateral boundaries, they are by the medial head of gastrocnemius and lateral head of gastrocnemius respectively. And the inferolateral boundary, it is completed by the plantaris muscle of the back of the leg. So these are the boundaries of the popliteal fossa: superiorly the hamstring muscles and inferiorly the calf muscles. Now about the roof or the posterior wall of the popliteal fossa. The roof or the posterior wall of popliteal fossa, it is formed by the skin, superficial fascia and the deep fascia. The structures which we can visualize in this dissection in the superficial fascia, they are this is short saphenous vein which is opening into the popliteal vein, and the second structure in the roof which is visualized, it is the sural branch of the tibial part of sciatic nerve. The other structures which are present in the roof, they are the branches from the medial cutaneous nerve of the thigh and cutaneous branches of the common peroneal nerve. Now about the floor or the anterior wall of popliteal fossa. The anterior wall of popliteal fossa or floor, it is bounded above by the popliteal surface of the femur, next by the capsule of the knee joint along with oblique popliteal ligament, and inferiorly the floor, it is completed by the fascia over the popliteus muscles. So these three structures, popliteal surface of femur, capsule of knee joint and fascia over popliteus, they will form the floor or posterior wall of floor or anterior wall of the popliteal fossa. Now about the contents of the popliteal fossa. Now in the contents of the popliteal fossa, in the upper part of the popliteal fossa, we can see this popliteal artery. Popliteal artery, it is the continuation of femoral artery at the adductor hiatus. We can see here in the tendon of adductor magnus muscle an opening or adductor hiatus, from where femoral artery, it is continuing as popliteal artery. The second content in popliteal fossa, it is the popliteal vein, which will continue as the femoral vein through the adductor hiatus. The third content, it is the sciatic nerve at the upper angle of the popliteal fossa. It will divide into a medial tibial nerve and a lateral common peroneal nerve. The fourth content of popliteal fossa, it is the short saphenous vein which will pierce the deep fascia and open up into the popliteal vein. The other contents of popliteal fossa are the popliteal lymph nodes and popliteal pad of fat. Now, relation of various structures in the popliteal fossa. In the upper part of popliteal fossa, we can see that the popliteal artery, it is the medialmost structure. The popliteal vein is lying lateral to it, and tibial part of sciatic nerve, it is the lateralmost structure in relation in the upper part of popliteal fossa. But as we reach near to the mid of the popliteal fossa, the tibial nerve, it crosses from lateral to medial side and it becomes the superficial most structure in the mid of popliteal fossa, while the vein will lie in the mid and artery will be the deepest structure in the mid of fossa. And as we reach up to the inferior angle of popliteal fossa, now tibial nerve, it is the medialmost structure, vein is again in the mid, and popliteal artery, it is now the lateralmost structure in the popliteal fossa. So popliteal artery, from being medialmost structure in the upper part of popliteal fossa, deepest in the mid part, and it will be the lateralmost structure in the inferior part of the popliteal fossa. The tibial nerve, it will give up its muscular branches in the popliteal fossa. All the muscular branches, they arise from lateral side of the tibial nerve. As we can see here, only the medial head of gastrocnemius will be supplied from the medial branches. While the common peroneal nerve, it will give just the cutaneous branches in the popliteal fossa, and short head of biceps femoris may receive a muscular branch from the common peroneal nerve. So that is about the boundaries and contents and relation of various structures in popliteal fossa.